Your son can wait. I'm the one who matters here, Hannah. Prioritize me or leave." Eli's words sliced through the air, sharp and cold. I stood frozen, my hands still on Caleb's feverish forehead. Our 4-year-old whimpered, his small body shivering under the blanket. "He's burning up, Eli. We need to take him to the hospital," I pleaded, my voice barely above a whisper. Eli loosened his tie, his eyes fixed on his reflection in the hallway mirror. "I have a crucial meeting in an hour. You can handle this yourself." My name is Hannah, and this was the moment I realized my marriage was beyond saving. I scooped Caleb into my arms, his heat seeping through my thin blouse. "I'm taking him to the ER. Don't wait up." Eli's hand clamped around my wrist as I reached for the car keys. "You're not going anywhere. What will people think if they see you out this late, looking like that?" I yanked my arm free, anger rising in my chest. "Like what, Eli?" "Like a mother caring for her sick child." His nostrils flared. "Like a woman who can't keep her house in order. It reflects poorly on me." "Mommy," Caleb whimpered, burying his face in my neck. I grabbed the keys and headed for the door. Eli's voice followed me, a low, menacing growl. "If you leave now, don't bother coming back." The cool night air hit my face as I stepped outside, Caleb clinging to me like a lifeline. I buckled him into his car seat, my hands shaking. As I pulled out of the driveway, I caught a glimpse of Eli in the window, his face a mask of indifference. How had we come to this? The charming man I'd fallen in love with seemed like a distant memory, replaced by this cold, uncaring stranger. The hospital waiting room was a blur of fluorescent lights and worried faces. I filled out forms on autopilot, my mind racing. How long had I been ignoring the signs? The subtle put-downs, the constant criticism, the way he'd slowly isolated me from friends and family. "Mrs. Walker." A nurse called my name, jolting me back to reality. "We're ready to see Caleb now." As the doctor examined my son, I made a silent vow. "This ends now. No more excuses, no more second chances. Caleb deserves better. I deserve better." My phone buzzed with a text from Eli. "I expect dinner when I get home. Don't disappoint me again." I stared at the screen, a strange calm settling over me. For the first time in years, I saw our relationship with crystal clarity. This wasn't love. It was control, manipulation, and fear. "Your son has a severe ear infection," the doctor explained, writing out a prescription. "He'll need antibiotics and plenty of rest." I nodded, cradling Caleb close. "Thank you, doctor. We'll follow your instructions carefully." As we left the hospital, the first rays of dawn were breaking over the horizon. A new day, a new beginning. I kissed Caleb's forehead, now cooler to the touch. "Where are we going, Mommy?" he asked sleepily. I smiled, a plan already forming in my mind. "We're going on an adventure, sweetheart. Just you and me." I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't used in far too long. "Mom, it's Hannah. I need your help." As I drove towards my parents' house, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. The road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time in years, I felt hope. Eli had underestimated me for the last time. Now it was my turn to show him exactly what I was capable of. The morning sun filtered through the curtains as I sat at my parents' kitchen table, nursing a cup of coffee. Caleb's soft snores drifted from the guest room where he slept peacefully, his fever finally broken. Mom bustled around, making breakfast, while Dad read the newspaper, occasionally glancing at me with concern. "Hannah, sweetheart," Mom said, setting a plate of eggs in front of me. "You need to eat something." I nodded, forcing myself to take a bite. The events of the past few days swirled in my mind, a chaotic blend of fear, anger, and an unexpected sense of liberation. "Have you heard from Eli?" Dad asked, his voice gruff with barely concealed anger. I shook my head. "No, and I don't want to. I've blocked his number." Mom sat beside me, her hand warm on my arm. "You did the right thing, Hannah. No one deserves to be treated that way." As I looked at my parents, I felt a pang of regret for the years I'd spent distancing myself from them, all to please Eli. How had I let it come to this? I remembered the day I met Eli, his charm and confidence sweeping me off my feet. He'd seemed so different then, attentive and caring. But looking back, I could see the warning signs I'd ignored, the possessiveness masked as protectiveness, the subtle put-downs disguised as jokes. I feel so stupid, I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. How did I not see it sooner? Dad set down his paper, his eyes softening. You're not stupid, Hannah. Men like Eli are experts at manipulation. What matters is that you've seen the truth now. A knock at the door made us all jump. Mom went to answer it, returning with the worried expression. It's Abigail, Eli's sister. My heart raced as Abigail entered the kitchen. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her usually impeccable appearance disheveled. Hannah, she said, her voice trembling. I'm so sorry. I had no idea things were so bad. I stiffened, unsure of her motives. What are you doing here, Abigail? She sat down heavily, wringing her hands. Eli called me last night, ranting about how you'd kidnapped Caleb. I came to talk some sense into you, but… She trailed off, looking around the kitchen. I see now that I'm the one who needed sense talked into me. As Abigail spoke, the full weight of my situation hit me. I was a stay-at-home mom with no income of my own. Eli controlled our finances, and I had no access to our joint accounts. The realization left me breathless with panic. What am I going to do? I whispered, more to myself than anyone else. Dad leaned forward, his jaw set with determination. You're going to fight, Hannah. We'll help you get a lawyer, figure out your finances. Eli won't get away with this. Abigail nodded, a spark of determination in her eyes. I'll help too. I know things about Eli's business dealings that could be useful. For the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope. I wasn't alone in this fight. As we talked, planning our next steps, I heard Caleb calling for me. I excused myself and went to him, gathering him in my arms. Mommy, where's Daddy? He asked, his big eyes full of confusion. I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. Daddy and Mommy need some time apart, sweetheart. But I promise you, everything's going to be okay. As I held my son, I made a silent vow. I would build a new life for us, one free from Eli's toxic influence. It wouldn't be easy, but with my family's support and my newfound resolve, I knew we could do it. Returning to the kitchen with Caleb, I saw my parents and Abigail deep in discussion. They looked up as we entered, their faces softening at the sight of Caleb. Ready for some breakfast, champ? Dad asked, his voice warm. As Caleb nodded eagerly, I felt a surge of determination. This was just the beginning of our journey, but for the first time in years, I was excited about what the future might hold. The next few days passed in a blur of hushed conversations and furtive planning. I felt like a spy in my own life, carefully gathering essentials and important documents while Eli was at work. Each night, I'd lie awake, my heart racing at every creak of the house, terrified he'd discover my intentions. One afternoon, while Eli was at a crucial meeting, I seized the opportunity to call my parents. Mom answered on the second ring. Hannah, is everything all right? I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Mom, I need your help. I'm leaving Eli, and I need a place for Caleb and me to stay. There was a moment of silence, then Mom's voice came back, strong and sure. Of course, sweetheart. You come here right away. We'll figure everything out together. Relief washed over me, followed quickly by a wave of guilt. I'm so sorry I've kept you at arm's length all these years. Eli, sure, Mom soothed. None of that matters now. We're here for you, always have been. As I hung up, I heard the front door open. Panic seized me as Eli's footsteps echoed through the house. Hannah, he called, his voice sharp. Where are you? I quickly composed myself and stepped into the hallway. In here. You're home early. Eli's eyes narrowed. The meeting was canceled. Who were you talking to? Just making a grocery list. I lied smoothly, surprised at how easily the deception came. Caleb needs more of that cereal he likes. Eli grunted, seemingly satisfied. Make sure you pick up my dry cleaning while you're out. And don't forget, we have dinner with the Johnsons tomorrow night. Wear that blue dress I bought you. I nodded meekly, all the while my mind racing with plans. Tomorrow night would be perfect. While Eli was schmoozing with his colleagues, I could make our escape. The next evening, I dressed carefully in the blue dress Eli favored, my overnight bag already packed and hidden in the trunk of my car. As we drove to the restaurant, Eli droned on about his latest business deal, oblivious to the turmoil inside me. At the restaurant, I excused myself to the restroom, my hands shaking as I dialed my dad's number. "We're ready," I whispered. "Can you meet us at the house in an hour?" Dad's voice was gruff with emotion. "We'll be there, Hannah. Stay strong." Returning to the table, I plastered on a smile and nodded along to the conversation. Inside, I was counting down the minutes. An hour later, I feigned a migraine, insisting Eli stay and entertain his guests while I went home to rest. He barely spared me a glance as I left, too engrossed in impressing his colleagues. As I pulled into our driveway, I saw my parents' car already waiting. Mom rushed to embrace me as I stepped out. "Oh, Hannah," she murmured, holding me tight. Dad was already inside, scooping a sleepy Caleb into his arms. "Let's go, sweetheart. We don't have much time." We worked quickly, loading the car with the bags I'd packed and a few of Caleb's favorite toys. As we were about to leave, I hesitated in the doorway, looking back at the house that had been my prison for so long. "Hannah," Dad said gently, "it's time to go." With a deep breath, I nodded and closed the door behind me, symbolically closing this chapter of my life. As we drove away, Caleb stirred in the back seat. "Mommy, where are we going?" I reached back to squeeze his hand. "We're going on an adventure, sweetie. Everything's going to be okay now." Looking in the rearview mirror, I saw my parents' car following close behind, a physical representation of the support I denied myself for too long. For the first time in years, I felt a glimmer of hope for the future. As we turned onto the highway, leaving our old life behind, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The road ahead was uncertain, but I knew with unwavering certainty that it led to a better life for Caleb and me. The first rays of sunlight crept through the curtains of my childhood bedroom, now a sanctuary for Caleb and me. It had been a week since our escape, and each morning I woke with a mixture of relief and anxiety. Today, however, a new emotion stirred within me: determination. I tiptoed past Caleb's sleeping form and made my way to the kitchen, where Mom was already brewing coffee. "Morning, sweetheart," she said, sliding a mug towards me. "Sleep well?" I nodded, wrapping my hands around the warm ceramic. "I think it's time I started looking for a job." Mom's eyebrows shot up. "Are you sure? There's no rush, Hannah. You and Caleb can stay here as long as you need." "I know, and I'm grateful," I said, "but I need to start building a life for us. I can't hide forever." As if on cue, Dad walked in, newspaper tucked under his arm. "I might have something for you," he said, pulling out a folded section. "The community center's looking for a part-time administrative assistant. It's not much, but it's a start." I scanned the ad, hope looming in my chest. "This is perfect. Thank you, Dad." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. I polished my resume, bought a secondhand suit from a thrift store, and practiced interview questions with Mom. All the while, I kept one eye on my phone, half expecting it to explode with angry messages from Eli. But there was nothing. The silence was almost more unnerving than his rage would have been. The morning of my interview, I stood in front of the mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back at me. Gone was the meek housewife Eli had molded. In her place stood someone stronger, more determined. "You've got this," I whispered to my reflection. As I walked into the community center, my confidence wavered. It had been years since I'd worked outside the home. What if I'd forgotten how to be professional? What if they saw right through me? "Hannah Walker?" A kind-faced woman approached, hand outstretched. "I'm Sandra, the center director. Thank you for coming in." The interview flew by in a blur of questions and answers. To my surprise, I found myself speaking passionately about my desire to contribute to the community and build a better future for my son. "Well, Hannah," Sandra said as we wrapped up, "I think you'd be a great fit here. When can you start?" I blinked, stunned. "Really? I mean, I can start anytime." "Thank you so much." As I left the building, my phone buzzed. My heart leapt to my throat when I saw Eli's name on the screen. "Where the hell are you?" His voice was cold, controlled. "I've been calling for days." I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "I'm not coming back, Eli. Caleb and I are safe, and that's all you need to know." "You can't do this," he hissed. "I'll find you. I'll dash." I hung up, my hand shaking but my resolve firm. Quickly, I dialed Dad's number. "It's done," I said when he answered. "He knows we're gone." Dad's voice was grave. "All right, I'll call the lawyer. We'll file for divorce and a restraining order first thing tomorrow." That night, as I tucked Caleb into bed, he looked up at me with wide, innocent eyes. "Mommy, when are we going home?" My heart clenched, but I managed to smile. "We're home, sweetheart. This is our new adventure, remember?" He nodded solemnly. "I like it here. Grandma makes good cookies." I laughed, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. "She sure does. And you know what? Mommy got a new job today. Things are going to get even better, I promise." As I closed Caleb's door, I heard Mom and Dad talking in hushed tones downstairs. The road ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in years, I felt truly alive. Eli had underestimated me, thinking I'd crumble without him. But he'd forgotten one crucial thing: a mother's love is the most powerful force in the world. And I was just getting started. The doorbell's chime cut through the peaceful Saturday morning, startling me from my coffee-induced reverie. I exchanged a worried glance with Mom before approaching the door cautiously. My heart nearly stopped when I saw who was standing on the porch. Abigail, Eli's sister, stood there, her usually immaculate appearance slightly disheveled. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and she clutched her purse like a lifeline. "Hannah," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can we talk?" I hesitated, torn between slamming the door and hearing her out. Curiosity won. "5 minutes," I said, stepping aside to let her in. We sat in the living room, an uncomfortable silence stretching between us. Abigail fidgeted with her wedding ring, avoiding my gaze. "Eli sent you, didn't he?" I finally asked, breaking the tension. Abigail's head snapped up. "Yes." "No." "It's complicated." She took a deep breath. "I came to talk some sense into you, to convince you to go back. But now that I'm here, I'm not so sure anymore." I leaned forward, intrigued. "What do you mean?" "Eli's not doing well, Hannah," Abigail confessed. "He's drinking more, lashing out at work. I've never seen him like this." A part of me felt a twisted satisfaction at Eli's struggles, but I quickly pushed that feeling aside. "I'm sorry to hear that, but it's not my problem anymore." Abigail nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "I know. And I'm starting to understand why you left. The things he said, the way he's been acting. It's like I don't even know my own brother anymore." As Abigail spoke, I felt a shift in the air between us. The animosity I'd expected melted away, replaced by a tentative understanding. "He's always been arrogant," Abigail continued, "but lately, it's like he's spiraling. His boss called me yesterday, warning that if Eli doesn't shape up, he might lose his job." I absorbed this information, my mind racing. Eli losing his job could complicate things, especially when it came to child support for Caleb. "Why are you telling me all this?" I asked, genuinely curious. Abigail met my gaze, her expression a mix of guilt and determination. "Because I was wrong about you, Hannah. I've always seen you as the problem in Eli's life, but now I realize it's the other way around. And I want to help." I sat back, stunned. "Help? How?" "I know things about Eli's business dealings," Abigail said, lowering her voice. "Things that could be useful if he tries to fight you for custody or refuses to pay support." My heart raced at the implications of her words. "Are you sure about this? He's your brother." Abigail nodded firmly. "I'm sure. It's time someone stood up to him, and I think you're the one to do it." As we talked, Abigail shared details about Eli's work life, his financial situation, and the growing discontent among his colleagues. Each revelation felt like a piece of armor, strengthening my resolve. When Abigail finally left, promising to keep in touch, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief at having an unexpected ally, guilt for the satisfaction I felt at Eli's struggles, and a renewed determination to build a better life for Caleb and myself. Mom appeared in the doorway, concern etched on her face. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" I nodded, a small smile tugging at my lips. "Yeah, I think it is. Things are changing, Mom. And for once, it feels like they're changing in our favor." That night, as I tucked Caleb into bed, he asked about his father for the first time since we'd left. "When will Daddy come see me?" My heart clenched, but I kept my voice steady. "I'm not sure, sweetie. But you know what? You and I are going to have so many adventures together, you won't even notice." As I closed Caleb's door, I felt a surge of determination. Eli had underestimated me, thinking I'd crumble without him. But with my family's support and now Abigail's unexpected alliance, I was stronger than ever. Tomorrow, I call my lawyer. It was time to take control of our future, once and for all. Eli's reign of emotional tyranny was over, and a new chapter was beginning, one where I held the pen. The sharp knock on the door sent a jolt through me. I knew who it was before I even reached for the handle. Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself and opened the door. Eli stood there, his once immaculate appearance now disheveled. His eyes, bloodshot and wild, bore into mine with a mixture of anger and desperation. "Where's my son?" he demanded, pushing past me into the house. I closed the door, my heart racing but my voice steady. "Caleb's at school, Eli. What are you doing here?" He whirled around, his face contorted with rage. "What am I doing here? You took my son and disappeared. I'm here to take you both home." "This is our home now," I said, surprised by the calmness in my voice. "Caleb and I aren't going anywhere with you." Eli's laugh was bitter, bordering on hysterical. "You can't do this, Hannah. You're nothing without me. How do you expect to survive?" I felt a surge of anger, but also pity. This man, once so powerful in my eyes, now seemed small and pathetic. "I'm doing just fine, Eli. I have a job, a support system, and most importantly, I have my self-respect back." His eyes narrowed. "A job? Don't make me laugh. What could you possibly do?" I straightened my shoulders, meeting his gaze. "I'm an administrative assistant at the community center. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work, and I'm good at it." Eli scoffed, but I saw a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "You'll come crawling back when the money runs out. You always do." "Not this time," I said, my voice gaining strength. "I've learned a lot about you, Eli. About your work, your finances. Abigail's been quite informative." The color drained from his face. "Abigail? What are you talking about?" I took a step closer, emboldened by his reaction. "I know about the creative accounting, Eli. The offshore accounts. How long before your bosses figure it out?" Eli's composure cracked. He lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "You don't know what you're talking about. Let go of me," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "Or I'll call the police and tell them everything." He released me as if burned, stumbling backward. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me," I challenged. "I'm not the same woman you married, Eli. I won't be bullied or manipulated anymore." For a moment, we stood in silence, the air thick with tension. Then, something in Eli seemed to deflate. He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. "What happened to us, Hannah?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I felt a twinge of sympathy, but I pushed it aside. "You happened, Eli. Your arrogance, your selfishness. You forgot that a marriage, a family, is about more than just you." He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. "I can change. We can start over." I shook my head. "It's too late for that. I've moved on, and so has Caleb. We're happy here." "You can't keep my son from me," Eli said, a hint of his old anger returning. "I'm not," I replied. "You can see Caleb, but it'll be on our terms. Supervised visits, until you prove you can be the father he deserves." Eli stood, his shoulders slumped in defeat. "This isn't over, Hannah." As he reached for the door, I called out, "You're right, Eli. It's not over. It's just beginning for me and Caleb." The door closed behind him, and I let out a shaky breath. I'd done it. I'd stood up to Eli, asserted my independence, and come out stronger. I walked to the window, watching Eli's car disappear down the street. A weight I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying lifted from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. My phone buzzed with a text from the school, a reminder about Caleb's upcoming parent-teacher conference. I smiled, realizing I had a life to get back to, a good life that I'd built for myself and my son. As I turned away from the window, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at me was stronger, more confident, and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Eli's visit hadn't broken me, it had only reinforced my resolve. The future was ours to shape, and I couldn't wait to see what it held. The shrill ring of my phone cut through the peaceful morning. Abigail's name flashed on the screen, her voice urgent when I answered. "Hannah, you need to turn on the news. Now." I fumbled for the remote, my heart racing as I flipped to the local channel. The headline made my breath catch. "Corporate Scandal Rocks Eli Walker's Company." The reporter's voice filled the room. In a shocking turn of events, Eli Walker, former rising star at Pinnacle Enterprises, has been fired amidst allegations of financial misconduct and embezzlement. I sank onto the couch, my mind reeling. Despite everything, a part of me ached for the man I once loved. "Hannah, are you there?" Abigail's voice crackled through the phone. "Yes, I managed." I can't believe it." "It's bad, Hannah. Really bad. The SEC is involved. Eli's facing possible criminal charges." As the reality sank in, a strange mix of emotions washed over me. Vindication, pity, and an overwhelming sense of relief. The man who had once loomed so large in my life was crumbling, his carefully constructed facade finally giving way. "What happens now?" I asked, more to myself than Abigail. "I don't know," she replied softly, "but I thought you should hear it from me first." After hanging up, I sat in stunned silence, the TV still blaring in the background. The doorbell jolted me back to reality. I opened it to find my father, his face a mask of concern. "I saw the news," he said, pulling me into a hug. "Are you okay?" I nodded against his shoulder, surprised to find tears in my eyes. "I'm fine, Dad. It's just a lot to process." We sat at the kitchen table, cups of coffee growing cold between us. Dad's voice was gentle when he spoke. "You know this doesn't change anything, right? You're still better off without him." "I know," I said, meeting his gaze. "It's just hard to see someone fall so far, even if they deserve it." As the days passed, more details of Eli's downfall emerged. The arrogance that had driven me away had finally caught up with him at work. Colleagues spoke of his increasingly erratic behavior, his refusal to listen to advice, his reckless decisions that had cost the company millions. Meanwhile, my own life continued to flourish. My work at the community center had expanded, and I'd been offered a promotion to program coordinator. Caleb was thriving in his new school, making friends and excelling in his studies. One evening, as I tucked Caleb into bed, he asked the question I'd been dreading. "Mommy, why is everyone talking about Daddy on TV?" I sat on the edge of his bed, choosing my words carefully. "Your daddy made some mistakes at work, sweetheart. He's in trouble now, but that doesn't change how much he loves you." Caleb's brow furrowed. "Will we see him soon?" "I'm not sure," I answered honestly. "But I promise, no matter what happens, you and I will be okay." As I closed Caleb's door, my phone buzzed with a text from Eli. "Can we talk? Please." I stared at the screen, my finger hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let him face the consequences of his actions alone. But another part, the part that remembered the man I'd once loved, couldn't turn away completely. I typed a brief response. "Tomorrow. Coffee shop on Main. 2 p.m. As I hit send, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Whatever happened tomorrow, I knew I was strong enough to face it. Eli's downfall hadn't broken me. It had only reinforced the strength I'd found within myself. I walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street. The future stretched before me, uncertain but full of possibility. For the first time in years, I felt truly free to shape my own destiny. Eli's twist of fate had become my opportunity for a new beginning, and I was ready to embrace it with open arms. The autumn breeze rustled through the leaves as I walked Caleb to his first day of kindergarten. His little hand clutched mine tightly, a mix of excitement and nervousness radiating from him. "You're going to do great, sweetheart," I reassured him, kneeling to straighten his backpack. Caleb's eyes darted around the schoolyard, then fixed on something behind me. His face lit up. "Daddy." I turned, my heart skipping a beat as I saw Eli approaching. He looked different, humbled, the arrogance gone from his stance. His eyes met mine, a silent question in them. I nodded, giving him permission to join us. "Hey, champ," Eli said, his voice thick with emotion as he knelt beside Caleb. "Ready for your big day?" As Caleb chattered excitedly about his new school supplies, I watched Eli's face. The man before me was a far cry from the domineering husband I'd left. The past year had changed us both. After dropping Caleb off, Eli and I walked in awkward silence towards the coffee shop on the corner. "Thank you," Eli said finally, "for letting me be here today." I nodded, choosing my words carefully. "Caleb needs both of us, Eli. As long as you're committed to being a good father, I won't stand in your way. Eli's shoulders sagged with relief. I've been going to therapy, he confessed, trying to understand why I became who I was. I'm sorry, Hannah, for everything. The words I'd once longed to hear now washed over me without the impact I'd imagined. I realized I no longer needed his apology to move forward. I appreciate that, Eli. I hope you find peace. We reached the coffee shop, and I checked my watch. I need to get to work. I have a big presentation today. Eli's eyebrows raised. The community center? I smiled, a hint of pride in my voice. Actually, I've been promoted to program director for the entire county. We're launching a new initiative for underprivileged youth. Surprise and admiration flickered across Eli's face. That's incredible, Hannah. You've really found your calling. As we parted ways, I felt a sense of closure settling over me. The anger and hurt that had driven me for so long had faded, replaced by a quiet strength and self-assurance. That evening, as Caleb regaled me with stories from his first day, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Dinner tomorrow night to celebrate your presentation? Dad's grilling steaks. I smiled, typing back a quick, wouldn't miss it. After tucking Caleb in, I stood in front of the mirror in my bedroom. The woman staring back at me was a far cry from the timid housewife I'd been a year ago. My eyes were clear, my stance confident. I'd not only survived but thrived. I thought about the journey that had brought me here, the pain, the fear, the moments of doubt, but also the triumph, the self-discovery, and the unwavering support of my family and friends. Eli's downfall had been a catalyst, but my rise had been entirely my own doing. I'd rebuilt my life brick by brick, creating a foundation of self-worth and independence that could weather any storm. As I climbed into bed, I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me. The future stretched out before me, full of possibilities. I had a career I was passionate about, a son I adored, and a support system that had proven unshakable. Eli would always be a part of our lives, but no longer as the domineering force he once was. We'd found a new balance, one that put Caleb's well-being first and allowed us both to grow. I closed my eyes, a small smile playing on my lips. Tomorrow was a new day, full of promise and potential. And for the first time in years, I was excited to see what it would bring. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every step. I discovered a strength within myself that I never knew existed, and I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As sleep began to claim me, one final thought drifted through my mind. I was no longer defined by my past or by Eli's actions. I was Hannah, mother, career woman, survivor. And my story was just beginning.